co-writers, co-producers, and star of Four Color Eulogy. I did the initial draft, and just pretty much all around everything else that needs to be taken care of.
I'm Wyatt Weed. I will only be the director and the DP on Four Color Eulogy.
And a writer.
You wrote. You co-wrote.
You co-wrote.
I co-wrote.
I'm Gail Gallagher. I am one of the producers on Four Color Eulogy.
I'm Nicholas J. Hearn, co-writer, co-producer, and all-around smartass.
Robert Clark, owner of Pirate Pictures, chief cook and bottle washer, Grip Electric, computer geek, and just about anything else that needs to be done behind the camera.
Four Color Eulogy initially came from... Actually, it kind of came from you.
Really?
Initially.
Geeks are us.
Well, no, we were talking, this was years ago, we were talking about whether or not Wyatt felt comfortable being a director of photography for a larger budget film coming into St. Louis or anywhere. And he said that he wasn't sure how he felt about that, and then looked at me and said, but if you wanted to make something, I would feel comfortable helping you in shooting that. So from there...
It was a challenge.
It was. It was. He threw out the gauntlet. And so from there, I immediately started thinking, well, I got to write something. I got to do something. We got to get the ball rolling. And I wanted it to be small, and I thought, write what you know. That's what everybody says. I have a blank piece of paper. I thought, well, at the time I was, Nick and I were self-publishing, Legacy's End and Supercat, our two comics that we do. And I thought, well, I know comics. I know self-publishing. So I'll start with that. I started to talk to my dad about it, John Contini, and he didn't come up with this idea. He said he had this idea that's been sitting in his desk for years of a one-act play about an older man and a younger man who meet in a bar and discuss life. Yeah, right. It sounds like it could be
A young priest and an old priest.
Yeah. It's either a joke or a strange movie. And they kind of teach each other about life and everything. So we took those two ideas and put them together, and over time it sort of evolved into this story of mid coming of age self-discovery in a sense, and then the comic book stuff started to take hold, and it just kind of evolved from there.
And your dad was a comic book artist, or kind of a wannabe.
Yeah.
He's not entirely unlike the character he's going to play.
Not entirely, no. He and my uncle created a whole universe of comic book characters in the 60s. And designs and wrote scripts out for all the issues and everything. I mean, there's a ream of paper.
And we've now stolen those characters,
And
right?
we've stolen some of those characters for the film, yeah. So, and some of that art even will even be props and show up in the film. So.
One of the things that I did, because I got a hold of the scripts, third draft, and it was touching. It was a family story, and there was some comic book stuff in it, but it just didn't ring. I'm like, okay, if you wanna sell this for the family, for the geeks, and for everybody in between, you gotta put a little pizzazz in it, I punched it up a little bit. There are so many comic book, pop culture, movie, television references, from the painfully obvious to a little obscure. You got a couple of Man from U.N.C.L.E. I mean, not a lot of people my generation are going to know a reference for the Man from U.N.C.L.E.
What are you trying to say here?
You're old. I'm not so old.
You may not get any older.
Yeah, I know. One of the things that I brought, specifically for the comic book fans, is I know what the fans like. They like to be teased. All through the script, there's little teases, little pieces that they can pick out. Easter eggs is what they've been called in movies nowadays. So whether you're a diehard geek or just a fan of film, you'll be able to pick up all of those little Easter eggs. And then, when we do the commentary, of course, we'll help you out.
And some of them are pretty obscure.
Yeah.
And some of them probably no one will ever pick up.
Yeah.
But they were things, that just kind of influenced the writing. Like our favorite comic writer, I think we both share this, is Brian Michael Bendis. That's where the character of Brian is. That's where his name comes from. Is from Brian. He's named after Brian Michael Bendis. Nobody else is going to pick up on
Nobody's
that.
gonna pick up
Except
on that.
now that I've said it.
I was say I did not know that.
Well, and I think it's cool too that even though there are the obscure references, the script flows well enough. The people like me who aren't going to get the references, it's not like, ooh, look, there's a reference and you don't get it.
Right.
It's just somebody making a snarky comment or something
You've listened
funny.
to us read the script and you've laughed at things that you have no idea why you're laughing at.
Right, because I don't get the
We
reference.
know
It's just
why
funny.
they're funny.
Yeah.
You're laughing at it because it's funny and we're laughing at it. So,
We've tried to make
yes.
the humor organic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's just been geeky references, and we've realized we need to ground it more, and it needs to make more sense.
Right.
So,
Well, that's one of the things you did was West Wing was a good example of a lot of references that are reasonably. You have to have a good knowledge of your history. Here, you have to have a good knowledge of comic books and of pop culture. And in some cases, hopefully, what it'll do is get people to look things up that they might not otherwise know about.
Google that.
it's gonna be nice to do Four Color Eulogy. I am very proud of Shadowland, but the change from Shadowland to Four Color Eulogy is Shadowland was stressful to make. It was a lot of logistics and a lot of just technical stuff day in and day out for an incredibly long period of time. Four Color Eulogy is comedy and people talking, people sitting down and just talking to each other. And it's comedy and a little bit of slapstick in places, and it's fun. And yes, there's drama and there's some family tragedy, but it's gonna be nice and fun compared to
There's
Shadowland.
no gigantic police chases or.
Compared to Shadowland, it's fluffy bunny. It really is. And I like science fiction, I like horror, but I also like, you guys have been so open to the concept of making it, I think it was already a film that I liked. It was already a genre that I liked. It had kind of a quirky comedy element to it. And you've only allowed me to help push it further towards the quirky comedy. And, just your basic cookie cutter family drama, I had no interest in that. I had no interest in the TV movie of the week. But because we could quirk it up a little bit, and you guys don't mind getting funky a little bit, you guys don't mind getting
Bring
quirky,
on the funk.
that really appeals to me.
Well, I think also too with all the pop culture references that are in it, you're gonna get the crossover. The horror fans tend to like the pop culture, and there's a nice crossover between comic fans and horror fans. So I think that even though this is quite the divergence from Shadowland, that we're still gonna appeal to some of the same viewers.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing I like best is the fact that we're still sticking with the things that are important. We have a story, we have character development, and Shadowland, while it was focused on Laura, nonetheless it was about Laura's journey and about how it affected her family, her friends, her life, the new people she was meeting,
And vampires.
and vampires. Here we're talking about somebody being confronted by a real challenge and having to be supported by family and friends and get through it.
And comic books.
In comic books.
And comic books.
I fell into it by accident. I came out 20-year career in computers and electronics, and I was ready for a change. I had friends who were involved in filmmaking. They had all gotten together years before. Wyatt was part of that crowd at one time at the Firehouse in North St. Louis, and they, one by one, all kind of made their way out to California and got involved in various niches of film production. Some of them went into effects, some of them went into writing, set decorating, producing, directing, just about every facet you could imagine. And I went off to do computers and electronics. And by a quirk of fate, I got dragged back into this kind of backwards, and I liked the people I worked with a lot better. People were passionate about what they did. I love the idea of good storytelling. This has been nothing but a good experience.
Well, you went out to LA to work on a film with these guys and kind of got hooked, didn't you?
What an experience! What a great experience! We did so many different things. Certainly, Guardian of the Realm was our first film. That's where Wyatt and I started working together. A lot of folks here in St. Louis got to see Guardian of the Realm when we showed it at the Filmmaker Showcase and then the International Film Festival, which was its premiere here in St. Louis. And I was astounded to find out how much of a production team there was in St. Louis and how passionate they were about making films. Why not do it in St. Louis? Why have to go all the way out to California? Does California have a lock or a monopoly on talent? I don't think so.
Screw it. Independent film can be its own trap. Certainly, if you never advance beyond a certain
Not
point.
own trap, your own career.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is there are filmmakers who have never gotten better than a certain level.
Okay, sure.
And they've sort of trapped themselves. And some of these people are in Los Angeles. I'm not saying Charlie Band, but Charlie Band of Empire Films worked with a certain group of filmmakers who only ever made films of a certain kind, and they never got above a certain level, and they were just at a certain market, and they're never gonna get any better, and they are what they are. Some people like that. Some fans go for that stuff. I think the trick is, it would be great if, say, Four Color Eulogy got recognized by the studios, got accepted into Sundance, and Weinstein.
Would be pretty great.
And Weinstein comes along and offers us big bucks for it and wants to distribute it. That would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
The trick then, though, is to have it be a solid enough career that if that never happens, I think we've all gotten to that leery point where it has to be worthy of itself. It can't all be about, we've spent a lot of time the last few years trying to figure out how to make this thing pay so that it's not dependent on somebody else.
Well,
You
it's
Funding.
too tough a job not to do it right.
Sure.
It's too tough a job for that purpose, and it's one of the reasons for Four Color Eulogy, after having you and I specifically having come off of Guardian of the Realm, which was a demonic horror flick, straight up, and Shadowland, which was a vampire action flick.
Yeah.
So here we are now saying that we can also do these kinds of things. And personally, one of our first collaborations has been one of the ones I've always been proudest of, which has been Timeline, which was a short film that we did, which did incredibly well here in St. Louis and won us a lot of awards.
You know, for me though, to the original question about is this the end all be all or is it a stepping stone to studios? For me, I want this to be it. Granted, I want to make money doing this. I want us to be very successful doing this. That word was successful, by the way.
Successful.
But I don't want to get into the studio world, and I like the freedom that we have
Okay,
as an
sure,
independent film company, that we don't have layers and layers of studio execs that we have to answer to, and that are the ones that are making the decisions for us. I like that it's we get together and go have donuts
Yeah,
and make
yeah.
the decisions.
Because this is it right
And
here.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
it right here.
Yeah.
And I think that has to be, in my opinion, every artist's number one driving force is to make sure that you've got the right people that you're working with and that the project comes first. And like Bob said, putting everything into it and that kind of care and love and if the other stuff happens, great, but yeah, it has to be able to stand on its own.
Yeah, and I think the most difficult part of it is truly the monetizing of it.
Yeah.
To have this film make enough money that we can make the next film and have that make more money so we can make the next film, that ultimately I would like us to be able to live off of what we're doing with this and not have to have secondary jobs.
And realize that it's not exclusive, in that we can still be an independent producer and occasionally do something on a studio level and then go right back to doing our independent film work. There's nothing to prevent that.
Sure.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I think that's really where our passion lies, is in the independent filmmaking. It doesn't mean that we can't do the other, it just means that that's not our primary focus.
Having said all of this, I did ask myself at one point a few years ago, if I don't ever make a big, huge studio film, if I never get the multi-million-dollar budget, will I be okay making little independent films in the Midwest? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to put on a suit and tie. I don't want to go to work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I have too many ideas and too many things I want to see made. This will be okay. I could think of much worse ways to spend my time in the Midwest.
My aspirations is I don't want to work at Home Depot. No, sorry. John Lovitz.
I thought maybe Sears.
I do look good in a tie. Yeah. My thing is that no matter what comes of any of this, I want to be able to do a job, because it's a job. It's hard work.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, everything that we've done, we've got sleepless nights, we've got long nights. It's a job. I want to be able to do the job that I love,
Yeah.
that I get some sort of joy and accomplishment out of. I don't need awards. I love them. Give them to me if you want to.
Money would be good, though.
Monies is always good. We loves the monies. But I want to live comfortably, doing something that I love, and putting 110%, even though 110% is not a real percent, but I want to put 110% into what I do, and I want to be happy, comfortable, and successful with my friends and my family.
You know, to Bob's point too, talking about you can go back and forth. What was it, the director John Sayles?
Yeah.
That he'll do a lot of writing and sell scripts to the Hollywood studios, and then take that money and make the independent films that he wants to make. So,
Well-
so get on it, okay?
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
And think about how many actors routinely.
Do the Hollywood, the big studio production, and then go do an
go off
indie.
and take a year or two and do something fun.
Yeah.
I think George Clooney actually said, I think I've got the quote somewhere in a Hollywood Reporter. He said, one for you, one for me, or one for
Yeah.
them. I'll give you
Yeah,
a Gravity,
that's right.
and Gravity will allow me to do Monuments Men.
Right.
And then I'll give you, Ocean's 14, and then I get to do,
Look at the 23 now.
yeah. So.
But my point is that I never felt like they were exclusive. I do like the craft that goes into independent film. I do
Sure.
like the fact that you have the ability to explore topics in a way that is not safe.
True, true.
You can do stuff that's not safe that the studio system won't permit.
True.
Well, true art's not supposed to be safe all the time.
No,
That's
true
the
art is
thing.
supposed to challenge you
Yeah.
and challenge how you see the world around you.
Totally agree with you, Bob.
Here it comes.
You know, I joke that I am the den mother, just as a female producer in general, that you're kind of trying to keep everything together. This group of guys, though, you can't be a sensitive girly girl when it comes to working with these guys, because they don't sugarcoat anything for me. I mean, there's no oh well, there's a girl in the room, we can't say that.
But it's not about sexism, and it's not a lot of sex talk. We just don't dial anything back. I mean, it's not like we're offending you as a girl.
There's plenty of sex talk,
To
but
say if this camera was rolling about 3 hours ago, they would have caught a hell of a conversation.
but then again, I'm not the girly girl who gets easily offended, so I jump right in and give it back to you guys, which is fun then to kind of see your guys' faces when you're like, oh my God, did she
she's
just?
got claws.
Yeah.
Well,
We were joking about boobs earlier, but I think she started it. And we
I
joke
think
as
she
much
did,
about
yeah.
grabbing each
Yeah.
other's junk as we do about anything.
Really, this from
Yeah,
Captain
so-
Inappropriate?
So, yeah.
Hey, some of you do grab people.
Yeah,
but-
yeah, we've seen it. That's on tape.
When Tom Gillis and Alec Woodruff, who did special effects for the last version of The Thing, decide they're going to make a horror film using all practical effects, the fanboys lose their minds, and they're only asking for $250,000, and they end up raising $350,000. I think fundraising, online crowdsourcing is a brilliant concept.
Agreed.
I think it's a great gift for indie filmmakers. Unfortunately, we may have gotten in on it just a tad too late. I think now everybody
It's so
and their
saturated.
mother is going for this. And
Well, and we're making a comic book themed movie for fanboys. We're not saving a 9-year-old girl from cancer. So we don't have the touchy-feely side of the thing that people want to donate money to. We're giving them, the equivalent of a coffee mug for $100 to.
So we need a starving 9-year-old comic book artist, is what you're saying.
Ooh, yeah,
Oh,
that'd be
scripts
good.
get- I think
Yeah.
the other thing too, as far as the other half of the question about what it does for filmmakers, from this point on, crowdsourcing, it allows everyone to be a filmmaker, which is great. But then the downside of that is it allows
Allows
everyone
everyone.
to be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are
Yeah.
And how do you sort out
right,
somebody who's worth
there's
helping out?
people that there are people that have studied this and know this and
Yeah.
know every facet of it. And yes, those people they should be out there doing this and doing the crowdfunding. And then there are people who don't even know how to hold the camera up the right side, but they're out there too.
And I do want to add too that despite the fact that we didn't raise what we thought we were going to raise, we are incredibly thankful to the
Oh,
people
yeah.
that gave us the
Yes.
money that they've
Oh.
given us.
Yeah.
We're going to make this movie.
I was gonna say, yeah, we're gonna make the movie
No matter what.
either way. It's just a matter of, do we get to do it in 20 days straight, or do we get to do it in 20 days spaced out over months? Do we get to eat from a real caterer, or do we get bologna and
sandwiches.
bread from the dollar store?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we found too that it's interesting. We raised like $1,000 the first night of our campaign because we had this really fun online party that a virtual party, if you will. We've had an in-person event, and we raised just as much money as we did that opening night. So I think it's about the hype and what you put into it. And I mean, there were 3 of us running our Indiegogo campaign and posting stuff on a regular basis and Facebooking on a regular basis. And they claim it's a full-time job, and it's more than a full-time job if you really want to get the buzz going with it. So it's
Yeah.
hard. It's tough.
Take advantage of every opportunity. Take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. It doesn't matter if you're doing it as an actor or a writer or a director, producer, whatever your final end goal is. Anytime someone offers you an opportunity to be on a set or do a play or go to a staged reading or anything, do it. Go and learn as much as you can, because no matter what your end goal is, if you take every opportunity, you're going to learn something that you can apply to that in some way. So just immerse yourself in it and learn constantly.
Be your own worst and harshest critic. And I don't mean talk yourself out of doing what it is you want to do. I just mean be honest. Don't lie to yourself. Don't convince yourself that something is better than you know it is. Work the hardest you can on your acting, your filmmaking, your producing, your writing, but be brutally honest with yourself. Be your own harshest critic and your own harshest editor. And then, if you ask people for advice, shut up and actually listen to it. And don't argue with it. It may apply, it may not. But don't bother even asking for the advice if you're not gonna listen to it. Otherwise, there's no point. And you won't be open to hearing the useful advice anyway.
And kind of building on what both of they've said, like for me as a producer, I wasn't the person that had the dream as a 12-year-old, I want to be a movie producer. I sort of fell backwards into it because of the skill set that I had. And so when I got involved with Pirate Pictures and they needed somebody to produce, I'm like, oh wait, I'm a natural at this. I've been doing events, I've been doing charity things, and it's all about the details, and I thrive on that. And I think taking the opportunities that come your way and getting involved on a set and finding out what is your niche on a set. You might think you want to direct, you might be horrible at directing, but you might be more of a producer, or you might be better at the electric and stuff like that. So I think that really kind of getting a taste for everything that goes on and finding out what is your natural talent instead of trying to force something that's not.
I'll stick to the writing aspects. Don't worry about anybody else. Write for yourself. Don't worry about critics. If you want to be a writer, write. Nonstop. A writer writes always. Never stop. Don't worry about what other people think. If somebody doesn't like it, well, you didn't write it for them. You wrote it for yourself. And eventually you're going to get better, and you're going to get better, and you're going to get better. And then maybe you'll get published. Maybe somebody will make a movie out of it. Maybe you'll make a comic book. All you got to do is keep trying.
I have to think more than anything, you have to remember this is a craft. There are elements of art. It's still a business. You have to make a living. A certain grounding in reality is critical to this, otherwise you're not going to succeed. Or you're going to succeed in such a way that you end up on food stamps. That's not going to work.
Ramen noodles.
More than anything, though, it is about passion. And if you don't have a passion for it, find something you do have a passion for.